Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet is a classic Wuxia adventure in video game form. Developed by Everstone Games, this finally has come to Western audiences and boasts a non-pay-to-win experience while still being free to play. With a mix of single-player and multiplayer modes, you'll be fighting your way through the game's massive world and learning lots of different martial arts styles along the way via the action combat. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
Hey Chris, you ever watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I have, but it's been quite some time, so don't judge me, Henrik.
Hey, you know what? It has been a while for me too. But every now and then I go back and watch some scenes because they were just really awesome action scenes.
Yeah.
And when you play a game like this, it's like you can jump straight into that action and be one of those characters.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you, Henrik. I mean, if you dropped into 10th century China today, you, the gamers, wouldn't even last 5 minutes. So luckily, we have a game called Where Winds Meet, where you're a mysterious sword-swinging warrior dropped into a world full of rival factions, hidden plots, and ancient legends waiting to be stirred awake. But Henrik, I gotta say, right in the beginning of the game, I mean, did you feel like Where Winds Meet feels like Wuxia greatness, or did the tutorial stiffness make you think that your character woke up with a cramp? Because that was a stick with the game in the beginning. I felt like it was a bit painful.
No, I kind of get what you mean. I mean, the gameplay is solid. You know, I had fun right off the bat with the gameplay, even in that little intro scene that isn't entirely accurate to the game that you're actually going to be playing. But
how much does that remind you of Ghost of Tsushima when they're running in the red flower fields?
It did.
Trying to be like, hey, if you like something previously, you might just like our game.
Yeah. And hey, you know, that's not a bad thing necessarily, because
no,
the
not at all.
presentation of Ghost of Tsushima is a great presentation for the intro of the game. And I think they did a really good job here too of kind of setting the tone of like, oh, there's this high stakes sort of thing. But then they kind of, you know, bring you back to reality, and it's kind of like really a somber, like coming into being a hero sort of story. Your character going through this long journey, which is very typical for the hero's journey in Chinese folklore. So, you know, if you're familiar with that, it's going to be a familiar story. But as a Westerner, not really having grown up with that, it's still a little jarring sometimes when, you know, you're doing these random, seemingly random at least, and maybe it's some lack of translation in bits and here and there, and maybe not understanding the tropes. But it feels kind of random when you're doing these things that don't feel very heroic, and you're kind of just building up your character to become that hero that you're prophesized to be, I guess you could say, at some point in the story. But you know, at the same time, it has its charm, I could say.
Yeah, I mean, the story does its best to like mix that political intrigue, you know, the forgotten history and mystical flair. But then the opening of the game, like the opening hours, I mean, it tosses you into an alligator roll off a horse while holding a baby. I mean, what the hell was this? I mean, I was laughing because my first reaction was like Death Stranding Wuxia edition, but here we are, right? I mean, then all of a sudden this like cutscene kicks in, and then all of a sudden, the first thing I could not stop laughing, I thought of you, Henrik, was the playback speed button. Yes, gamers, they straight up. Oh, I think I might have lost Henrik. Oh, it's all good. There we are. But no, you're good. I think you maybe got a little offended that I called you out, that you skipped some of the cutscenes.
I had to drop out for a second.
Yeah, you were like, I don't want to hear this nonsense. He's clowning me. I don't like it. Shame on you, Chris. Shame. No, but anyways, I thought it was really funny. I've never seen that before in a game in like a long time. Like, you can literally straight up give the players the option to watch a dramatic dialogue at 2 times the speed, like you're cramming lore for a midterm. And I know this generation, Henrik, has the attention span of a raisin, but making legendary warrior sound like a chipmunk is hilarious. Like, what a strange choice. Like, especially when you're trying to pitch this thing as a story, like 30-hour plus content campaign. Why?
Well, at the end of the day, also necessary? The game has I think they said something like 150 hours of gameplay between the story and the
Yeah, if
side
you wanted to be like
missions
a
and everything.
completionist, yeah,
So if
I believe it.
it kind of makes sense if they say, you know what, we understand some people who play this game might want to just go rush through the story. So
Maybe they
have at
counted some of,
it.
I would say, Henrik, maybe they counted some of those area hours into just you looking at the gallery of character creations because my gosh,
Oh yeah,
I felt like I
and
spent
the
a full
menus.
hour. Yeah, just looking at these like fan-made appearances. I mean, they were ranging from like Kanye
Hmm.
Wang to SpongeBob SquarePants to the Joker. I mean, Henrik, I even saw
Yeah.
Kratos and Michael Jackson that looked ready to ask where the nearest dumpling shop was at. I never laughed so hard looking at that. But then again, I know you really wanted to express your frustration with the microtransactions in this game because you have such a
Oh
cool
well,
idea with the fan made artwork, and then you
yeah.
want to push these ludicrous prices. Break it down.
Well, I mean, I was noticing that there's a currency tied to copying over some of the designs, which, at the end of the day, the game is free. So it's not really the worst thing in the world. And also, a big selling point is that the game is not pay to win. So you're never going
Yeah,
to
that's
feel
true.
like you have to whip out your wallet just to get that extra edge to keep up with everyone else who's trying to, do the content in the game. But I will say there are some things that end up being quite ridiculous when it comes to the cosmetics. Like there being a $40,000 boat cosmetic that you can buy. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, you're basically buying an event and a zone for people to go and climb onto and,
Yeah.
have a whole huge party. But $40,000, I don't think I'd be willing to spend that much on anything related to any game.
And that's only like a tiny minor gripe, but it is
Yeah.
very, very silly. And if you are that person that does that, shame on you because you are obviously the problem of why in-game currency is such a huge demand for young kids during the holidays. I mean, it's insane.
Hmm.
I mean, nobody's even thinking like, Daddy, Mom, you give me a physical copy. They're like, no, Henrik, I want my V-Bucks and my Robux. Oh, what a different
Yeah.
generation we lived. But like the game
But how did
basically hands
the
you, yeah.
I was gonna say, Chris, just transitioning away from like talk about the story and the little mechanics and everything, though. Like,
Yeah.
what did you think about the gameplay, though? Like, is the gameplay a solid experience for you? Because I feel like that's really the selling point at the end of the day for this game.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go in like knowing nothing, right? I mean, they're going to hand you a
Mhm.
sword. They're going to go, hey, go discover who you are, which is bold considering I still don't know who I am, considering the choices of my hairstyle with my character creation, but that's beyond that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're like this heroic swordsman, starting out, but then all of a sudden, like sometimes you're walking around like you're role playing like a lost tourist with a very sharp stick. I really didn't know where to go. I felt like the UI is a little clunky in a sense because it's all
Yeah,
over the place and you get very overwhelmed.
there's
And
like
maybe this
20
is
different
just
menus.
yeah, and I don't know if this is just me because we literally covered it 2 weeks ago on Pause and Repeat, but Arc Raiders, but like already having to micromanage all these little gizmos already kind of overwhelms me when you have to jump into another free-to-play experience where it's like, I'm just hitting the experience button and not really thinking. It's
Mhm.
like swipe right, regret later philosophy, if you know what I mean. Like that's kind of the idea that I took it. But when it came to the combat, did you feel like that's where the game flexes? Because I felt like that was where its strongest hold is.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. The combat is really the high point of the game. Like I can set aside any quirks with the menus and everything as long as the gameplay is
Yeah,
solid,
holds up to its
and
end.
and it really does hold up, I would say. Like there's tons of different martial arts to learn of the different weapon types, and they're all really fun. Yeah, some of the enemies can end up being a little bit just really tanky, so it feels like some encounters can end up taking a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
I never felt that way and then realized, oh, you know, I have the highest gear for my level. So I would always find out, oh, it's because I didn't upgrade my gear properly. And that's why I'm
But didn't
kind
you
of
kind of
like
feel like when
lagging
you're looking at
behind.
those enemies though, Henrik, like they all like match in scale? You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
no like small guy, there's no medium guy, there's no large guy. I mean, all the bosses are about the same height. All the people in the open world are about the same height. I was thinking there would be a little bit more variety, but I guess with the garments and the different character appearances, that's where it shines. But I don't know, that it's not much, but it's just something I noticed real quickly. But yeah, you got parries, you can dodge, there's aerial moves, there's a lot of flashy animations I'm sure your GPU will sigh over. I had no issue on my PS5 playing this game, but it does borrow that precise, I would say, like Sekiro style, where you have to tap at the right moment or just perish altogether. But what I highly recommend, PSA for all the gamers out there, turn off the assist deflection. I accidentally enabled it right in the beginning of the game, and it becomes so easy. You'll start wondering if this game is for you. So turn it off if you're really good at those kind of style of God of War, Sekiro games, because you're going to be like, this game is dumb. Why do I want to continue to progress with my character?
And if you're struggling, well, you know what? Just get good. That's all you got to do. Just get good. Learn the telegraphs for enemy moves, and then knowing when to parry them properly. And, as long as you learn all that properly and spend the time to do so, you'll have a very satisfying combat experience.
Yeah, and there's like different weapons you can go from with like spears, there's rope darts, umbrellas, which I picked that up because I just thought it was cool and flashy. And then there's fans, for the healing. But, the bosses, however, go wild. I mean, some of the ones that kind of stood out for me were the Void King. I mean, Heartseeker's pretty early on in the game. The Earth Fiend Deity are a lot of fun to battle with friends or solo. But what shocked me the most, Henrik, I gotta say, was the Perception Forest. There is a battle royale mode in game. And I felt like that was very daring of them, especially considering that it is this, to kind of set up the premise for the gamers that haven't jumped in yet. It's a separate mode from the main game where the players loot for gear and abilities rather than using your pre-existing character builds. And that was a fun twist. I haven't seen that as of yet. Not that I can think of.
With a game in this genre, you mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean? To kind of like jump in and go, hey, let's jump in and start squabbling it out with our swords or whatever you can find and grab and loot. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like the joke at the beginning of the show. If it doesn't have a gun or a ball in it, I don't want to play. While Where Winds Meet tries to do something daring. And I think, like, here's the catch. I mean, yeah, managing your gear, stats, map markers, and skill trees can feel like you accidentally clocked into a second shift at another live service game, like I was joking around with Arc Raiders.
Because it ends up actually being alive. Like, it is alive. You look through every menu and then you find 5 more somehow.
Yeah, like the content pile is huge. I mean, impressively huge. But sometimes I feel like Where Winds Meet can give aspirin a headache. I mean, it's like, and I get it, like, that's the sticking point. It's free, right? It swings big. Yeah, there's a ton of things to explore, but when a free-to-play game asks you to micromanage like your onboarding for HR, to me, Henrik, that's when the breeze stops feeling refreshing and starts feeling like paperwork with the view. And so, sadly, I don't think I'm going to be sticking around with this game. I think it's fun in the moment it's out, but I just don't see gamers sticking along for the long overhaul. Like, what was that other game? Oh, gosh. There was another gun game that dropped earlier last year in the beginning of, or late 2024. I can't even think of the name right now. Because, see, it's irrelevant now. And I feel like this is what's going to happen with this game. Like a paper plane being thrown off a 40th building, gone and never to return. What do you say, Henrik? What are you vibing with? Is this a pause to play something new or a repeat for endless fun?
Yeah, it is a pause for me as well, which is unfortunate because this is exactly my kind of game. Like, the combat is exactly the kind of game I like. The whole massively multiplayer online aspect, I love that sort of thing. But what really holds it back more than anything is just constantly having to fight with the quirks of the game. And what I mean by that is things like the menu, or things like how sometimes you'll go into a puzzle and it feels almost like you need to know Chinese to actually solve the puzzle yourself.
Yeah.
And just things like that kind of, make me look at other games in the same genre and be like, you know what? I can enjoy the same kind of experience in this other game that is more polished.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same quirks. So I'm just going to go spend my time there instead. But I will probably hop back every now and then when I'm looking for something in this genre to just mess around and play with, because the world is massive.
Well, then
So
that
there's
starts
stuff
to
to do.
sound like a little bit of like a repeat then, if you might
Yeah,
jump back
but
all
not
the way in.
really like I'm not really like itching to go back in,
Yeah, you're not like invested. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I feel like the main quest line story is a little cheesy. It was hard to take the little girl seriously in the beginning, and I kept rolling my eyes. And then all of a sudden, you see this guy that's standing at a cliffside that has an archery book that all of a sudden teaches you archery. It's like corny stuff like that, where sometimes the side quest had better stories than the main quest. You know what I mean? That like expanded the lore in the game. And so I would highly encourage, if you want to stick along for the ride, do the side quests. Do not skip them, because you might be surprised. Those have some of the better storytelling than the main line. But then again, we want to know from you, the gamers, when it comes to Where Winds Meet, is this a pause while you test the waters or a repeat for endless Wuxia chaos? Let us know what's good.